Snakes are all over Yu-Gi-Oh! And have been since the game's early days. And while there are even more snake-related and snake-like entities, this is a very arbitrary list of snakes. Vennominaga, the Deity of Poisonous Snakes, is getting bounced at the door, while Hydra Viper is let in, and 7-colored fish gets to plead its case. And rising from the murky grave to sink its fangs into this list number 10 spot is Ogdoabyss, the Ogdoadic Overlord, a level 10 light attribute reptile with 3100 attack and 2200 defense from 2021's Ancient Guardian set. The Ogdoadic cards are all about graveyard combos. They fill your grave and revive from grave, and Ogdoabyss has a board clear effect to send all monsters on the field there, except those that were special summoned from the graveyard. Duelists have been waiting a long time for a proper reptile archetype which could utilize Snake Rain, a normal spell from 2007's Tactical Revolution that sends 4 reptile monsters from deck to graveyard at the cost of discarding 1 card. And although Ogdoadics didn't quite live up to the hype on release, they're a decent archetype that plays well with other modern strategies like Ragnarika, and more importantly, Mitsurugi. While Ogdoabyss, the Ogdoadic Overlord's massive board send, is a quick effect and great interruption during your opponent's turn, it's also hard limited to 1 use while Ogdoabyss is face up on the field. This is mitigated by Ogdoabyss's special summon effect, where you can bring it out of your graveyard by tributing 3 monsters you control. This seems expensive, but the Ogdoadics are proficient at filling the field as well as grave, especially with Ogdoadic Daybreak, a quick play spell which tributes a reptile monster to summon a separate Ogdoadic token for every 2 levels the tributed monster had on the field. Ultimately, the story of these graveyard snakes is still being written. Like Snake Rain before them, they're waiting for just the right time to pounce on the meta, which is just impeccably snake-like ambush predatory behavior. And we've already seen evidence of their potential. Did you know that Ogdoadics flirted with tiered status for a while in Duel Links? The Ogdoadics are a good start to this list because of their potential. Maybe in time they'll crop up again in one of these videos, but further down, after we've felt the business end of their shadowy fangs. And holding your breath in anticipation for this list number 9 snake would be a fatal mistake, because Ocean Dragonlord Kairyu-Shin is bringing the ocean with it. This level 5 water attribute sea serpent has 2000 attack and 1700 defense, and was released into the TCG as part of the 2022 set Legendary Duelist Duels from the Deep. Like Ogdoabyss, the Ogdoadic Overlord, Ocean Dragonlord Kairyu-Shin packs a non-traditional board clear effect. But what's interesting about Kairyu-Shin is that its board clear doesn't require activation. While you control Umi, or one of the many cards that become Umi, Ocean Dragonlord Kairyu-Shin has a passive effect where both players are able to only control 1 non-water attribute monster, instantly sending any extra monsters they control to the graveyard the second Kairyu-Shin hits the field alongside an Umi. Finally, as a once per turn ignition effect, Kairyu-Shin can search from deck an Umi, Sea Stealth, or a Kairyu-Shin spell or trap. A pool of cards including cards like Mangalacia, the Deep Sea City, Sea Stealth Attack, and Kairyu-Shin's Dark Reef. Kairyu-Shin's level of 5 works great with other cards commonly used in Umi control strategies. A Legendary Ocean modulates its level in hand down to 4, making it a viable normal summon under the right conditions. And Electric Jellyfish can also just special summon it from your hand. Even while treated as a level 4, because Kairyu-Shin's original level is 5, it can still benefit from the battle protection provided by the continuous trap Sea Stealth Attack, which can also place an Umi for quick access to the Ocean Dragonlord's Floodgate board clear. The original Kairyu-Shin is a level 5 normal monster with the same typing and attribute as a Legendary Duelist Retrain, but with slightly different stats. At 1800 attack and 1700 defense, the original Kairyu-Shin is exactly 200/200 beneath Ocean Dragonlord Kairyu-Shin. It's kind of like its upgraded form always gets the Umi boost. Originally released into the OCG in 1999, the normal Kairyu-Shin wouldn't migrate to the TCG until 20 years later as part of the 2019 Speed Duel Trials of the Kingdom. As of script writing, this is still Kairyu-Shin's only printing in the TCG, though fans of the Duel Monsters anime will recognize this big sea snake from Yugi's Episode 7 duel against Mako Tsunami. After 2 big serpents, it's only fitting that the next spot at number 8 goes to a little guy. Danger Tsuchinoko is a level 3 dark reptile monster with 1300 attack and 0 defense, first discovered in Secret Rarity in the TCG Wilds of the 2018 set Soul Fusion. Yu-Gi-Oh's Danger archetype is one of those card lineups with lore-accurate effects that contribute to a cohesive narrative playstyle. That's an unnecessarily fancy way of saying that the Danger cards are all about combing the wilderness for elusive creatures, and sometimes they jump out at you. The monsters share an archetypal effect and activation condition, where they can first reveal themselves in hand, then flip themselves back and force your opponent to randomly discard from your hand. If the discarded card was not the revealed danger monster, you get to summon said creature and draw a card to make up for the lost discard. If your opponent happens to select the danger monster itself for discard, then they can activate their individual effects. Bigfoot can target and destroy a face-up card. Nessie can search another danger card. But Tsuchinoko might be the most reliable danger cryptid of all, since it can special summon itself on discard once per turn. No matter what random card your opponent sends, Tsuchinoko will find its way onto the field. Competitively, the Danger package works great with decks that benefit from discards and draw power. Dark Worlds in particular love running the Danger monsters because these cryptids enable the discard fiend's powerful effects. Divine Serpent Geh is the level 12 Dark Reptile monster with question mark attack and 0 defense. Its first release into TCG in 2018 set Cybernetic Horizon, and is the number 7 snake on this list. If you seek to summon Geh, you can't rely on normal means. Instead, it can only be special summoned from hand by its own effect. After a monster you control is destroyed by battle or an opposing card effect, Divine Serpent Geh can bite off half your life points and slither onto the field. Geh cannot be targeted by card effects, and permanently negates the effects of monsters it battles while causing said monster's attack to become half their original value. Once per damage calculation involving Geh, you can make a Geh's attack become equal to the highest original attack on the field. All of these effects combine to make Divine Serpent Geh pretty hard to beat over. It negates, halves, and consumes. Unfortunately, its protection doesn't extend to effects that don't target, making clearing Geh as easy as flipping Dark Hole, or Raigeki, or Mirror Force, or a bunch of other cards that have been part of the game for over 2 decades. But that's okay. Divine Serpent Geh is designed to do 2 things: bite your opponent's monsters, and drain their resources by forcing them to come up with an answer to an evil god snake. Whatever cards they use to out your Geh could have gone somewhere else, and now they won't. Divine Serpent Geh also gets cool extra points for its appearance in the Duel Monsters anime, where it was the ultimate ace monster of darts, former Atlantean prince and current mega powerful business sorcerer. Appearing in episodes 181 and 182, the anime version of Geh has literally infinite attack points, putting the pharaoh in a pretty tough spot. Of course, Yamayugi is able to wriggle away from defeat once again through a combination of shenanigans and puzzle powers. By creating an infinite loop that eventually culminates into Maya's the Knight of Destiny, Atem is able to crash infinities and defeat darts. While the paper version of Geh isn't as bonkers as its on-screen counterpart, Divine Serpent Geh is a really cool card and belongs on a list of top snakes. And at number 8, we have the level 4 water reptile, Nightsword Serpent. It has 500 attack and 600 defense, and was released in the TCG with 2021's Burst of Destiny. Nightsword Serpent's effect is very simple. It doesn't have effectively infinite attack points or protective effects, but it has something better: a playmaking effect that triggers in response to being sent to the grave by card effect. Once per turn, Nightsword Serpent is able to special summon itself under the condition that you banish it when it leaves the field. The applications here are broad. It's not packing much in the stat department, but 4 is a great level for extra deck summoning. On top of that, attaching Nightsword Serpent as an Xyz material can be a great way to work around its banish stipulation. This is where things get a little technical, since this doesn't work with every Xyz monster. Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer, is a rank 4 Xyz that can detach a single material to book an opponent's monster, or detach 2 to shuffle a face-up card back into the deck. Detaching Nightsword Serpent for either effect won't trigger Serpent's Revive because Castel's detachment is a cost for activation, indicated by the use of a semicolon. We'll contrast this with Time Thief Redoer, who detaches materials as part of its effect, which would trigger Nightsword Serpent's self-revival. Both Snake Rain and Ogdoadic Water Lily can send Nightsword Serpent from deck to grave, translating into an instant Serpent on field. As is the case with most snakes, Nightsword Serpent is very flexible. Mitsurigi Ritual is able to tribute up to 2 reptile monsters from hand, field, or deck to ritual summon a reptile ritual monster. By tributing Nightsword Serpent from deck as part of the summoning effect of Mitsurigi Ritual, you get not just a ritual monster, but another level 4 body as well. And traveling across the most distant, deepest depths of outer space to the number 5 spot on this list is Ghoti of the Deep Beyond. This level 10 water attribute mystery snakefish synchro entity has question mark attack and 0 defense, and first breached the TCG as part of the 2022 set Power of the Elements. Even before the advent of the Ghoti, fish and synchro monsters had some history. The white aura line of fish-type synchros had long been reviving themselves from the grave to facilitate further fish synchro summons. And there's also fish synchro boss Ravenous Crocoddragon Arcthis to consider. But although Ghoti swam in familiar waters, they were able to differentiate themselves through their ability to recur from banishment and explosively interrupt your opponent's plays. Ghoti of the Deep Beyond is the biggest creature of the Ghoti, which of course is a wordplay name that can also pronounce fish by chaining modern adaptations of archaic English pronunciations from deep history. The original attack of Ghoti of the Deep Beyond becomes equal to 500 times the number of monsters in either banishment. Since many of the Ghoti cards enjoy dipping in and out of banishment, it's very possible to boost your Deep Beyond up to a high stat line using just your own cards. But Ghoti of the Deep Beyond has an effect to climb its own stats, and that effect is a zinger. If Ghoti of the Deep Beyond is synchro summoned during your opponent's turn, and this is very easy to facilitate using the Ghoti tuners or generic cards like Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon, Deep Beyond banishes the entire field. This board wipe also clears Beyond itself, but after moving to banishment from a monster zone, Ghoti of the Deep Beyond can special summon itself near the next standby phase. The idea is that after non-target banishing every card you and your opponent controls, the field will be empty enough for your supercharged Ghoti of the Deep Beyond to swing for game next turn. It's a powerful card, and joins Ogdoabyss, the Ogdoadic Overlord, and Ocean Dragon Lord Kairyu-Shin as another example of snakes as non-traditional board breakers. Coiling infinitely around this list at number 4 is Jormungandr, Generaider Boss of Eternity, a rank 9 Earth attribute reptile-like seas monster with question mark attack and defense. Jormungandr was one of the cover cards of its home set in the TCG's 2019's Mystic Fighters. Although Jormungandr can be summoned via a simple overlay of any 2 or more level 9 monsters, this is a little more complicated than breaking out a generic rank 4 or a rank 8. Level 9 monsters are usually harder to come by, although you do have a few specialized tools to help you get the job done. Jormungandr's original attack and defense become equal to its number of materials times 1,000. This means that it'll have at least 2,000 on hitting the field, and 3,000 if you use the quick play spell World Legacy Monstrosity to assemble your materials. But you might not have to resort to doing so. The Generaider archetype is all about summoning big, unique, mostly level 9 boss monsters. Boss here is very literal language, since a trend with Generaiders is that they have their own unique domain. Take Urtagarda for example. It's the Generaider boss of Illusion, or Nagflar, who's the Generaider boss of Fire. The archetypal field spell, Generaider Boss Stage, is able to summon a boss from deck during your opponent's turn while also flooding the field with Generaider tokens, which can be attributed to power your Generaider boss effects. But Jormungandr works a little different from its Generaider brethren. Rather than tributing to activate its effect, the Boss of Eternity can detach materials as a quick effect for both players to draw a card, and then attach a card from hand or field to Jormungandr. Although this boss snake loses 1,000 attack as an activation cost, it will gain 2,000 by the end of its effect, and it lets you dig a little deeper into your deck. Critically, Jormungandr's forced draw effect will cause your opponent to trigger Generaider Boss Stage, allowing you to summon another main deck Generaider boss and a bunch of tokens during your opponent's turn. The entire Generaider archetype takes design inspiration from Norse mythology, with Jormungandr, Generaider Boss of Eternity, being a direct evocation of Jormungandr, the World Serpent. The mythological Jormungandr encircles Midgar, the human world, biting its own tail to create a closed loop and Ouroboros. This is analogous to the way Jormungandr, Generaider Boss of Eternity, coils around the Generaider Boss Stage. This plays out on the board with Jormungandr in the extra monster zone above Generaider denizens summoned to the main zone by Boss Stage. It also plays out in the card artwork of Jormungandr, which depicts its endless body surrounding the Boss Stage itself. And roaring into the number 3 spot on this list is Snake Eye's Flamberge Dragon. This level 8 fire attribute dragon monster has 3,000 attack, 2,500 defense, and an appropriately serpentine body to match its explicitly snake-like name. This big monster released into the TCG in late 2023 as a secret rare pull from the Age of Overlord set. As its ignition effect, Snake Eye's Flamberge Dragon can target a face-up monster on field, or one in grave, to place that monster as an effectless continuous spell in the spell and trap card zone belonging to its owner. You can also target a monster on field currently being treated as a continuous spell, and special summon that card as a monster to your field. This is a quick effect, but can only be activated during your opponent's turn. During either turn, if Snake Eye's Flamberge Dragon is sent from hand or field to the graveyard, you can special summon 2 level 1 fire monsters from grave. All of these effects are constrained to once per turn, but that's never held Flamberge Dragon back from becoming a very powerful card. Taking advantage of the strong and consistent Diabellstar / Sinful Spoil / Snake Eyes cards to consistently hit the field and non-destructively pick apart your opponent's board while bolstering your own, Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon combines the williness of the archetypal snake with the crushing power of the constricting serpent. Snake Eyes is a fearsome deck that any duelist active in the early 2020s will recognize and respect. It's a deck that plays well with quite a few popular lines of cards, including Fiendsmith and Fire Kings. But beyond competitive success, let's dig into a few aspects of the inspiration behind the design of Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon, and how this monster is in conversation with some historical depictions of the snake entity, specifically the devil Abrahamic tradition that succeeded in causing humankind to fall to sin and get expelled from paradise. In the card lore world, we have the mythological White Forest, and we have a sinister corrupting element in the Azaminia, and we have even the original sin, or at least original Sinful Spoil's Snake Eye. Temptation and manipulation occur, the apple is eaten, and paradise is lost. Of course, this is less a one-to-one adaptation and more of a melange of aesthetics, themes, notions, and crucially Goblin Bikers gone wild. And coiling to strike the number 2 spot on this list is Predaplant Verte Anaconda, a Link 2 Dark Attribute plant monster with 500 attack from the 2020 set Dual Overlord. A simple link of any 2 effect monsters, Verte Anaconda is able to target any face-up monster on the field and change its attribute to dark until the end of the turn. This synergizes with other Predaplant monsters, like Predaplant Clematis Sundew and Predaplant Chimera Flesia. But that's not the effect that lands Verte Anaconda at such a high spot. This is, once per turn by paying 2,000 life points and sending a Polymerization or a Fusion normal or quick play spell from deck to grave, Verte Anaconda can mimic that card's effect when activated. Notably, by duplicating the effect, Verte Anaconda is able to skip over downsides like costs. If you use Verte Anaconda to send a copy of Super Polymerization, you don't have to discard a card to activate the effect. To balance this out, Predaplant Verte Anaconda comes with its own conditions, where, after using its effect, you're unable to special summon monsters for the rest of the turn. This makes Verte Anaconda a great way to top your combo with a big boss monster that usually requires more deck building investment to bring out. Historically, popular fusion monsters often paired with Predaplant Verte Anaconda are Red Eyes Dark Dragoon through Red Eyes Fusion, Rainbow Neos through Neos Fusion, and Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer through Fusion Destiny. On account of being so flexible and powerful, Verte Anaconda quickly found its way onto the TCG ban list, going from 3 copies to totally banned in May of 2022. Infinitely recurring itself back into this list at number 1 is Sinister Serpent. This level 1 water reptile with 300 attack and 250 defense first released in 2003 as a video game promo alongside Yu-Gi-Oh! Worldwide Edition Stairway to the Destined Duel. Outside of this limited run, Sinister Serpent's second printing wouldn't arrive until 2012 as part of Legendary Collection 3 Yugi's World. Since then, Sinister Serpent has seen other releases, but the original GBA promo can still fetch a decent buck. But what's actually good about this card, because it's clearly not the attack stat. During your standby phase, if Sinister Serpent is in your grave, you can add it to your hand. This is a once per turn effect, and it also comes with a restriction that you'll have to banish a Sinister Serpent from your graveyard during the end phase of your opponent's next turn. Basically, Sinister Serpent is great discard and mill fodder, since it automatically recurs back to your hand. But the banish effect stops you from discarding and recouping your Sinister Serpent every turn, and instead creates conditions where, if you want it back, you must wait a turn to put your Sinister Serpent back into the grave to dodge the graveyard banish effect after reclaiming it. But Sinister Serpent's effect used to be way more sinister. On original printing, Sinister Serpent lacked a once per turn limitation and didn't have the graveyard banish downside. This meant that during every standby phase, every copy of Sinister Serpent would jump from your graveyard to your hand at exactly no cost. It's not hard to see exactly why this card was game-breakingly good. An uneroded Sinister Serpent would still be good in 2025, let alone throughout the ages. And we can still see ripples of Sinister Serpent's original power in GOAT format, where it's playable on 1 copy. Upon release, Sinister Serpent was very quickly limited to 1 by the May 2003 ban list, and progressed to Forbidden by October of 2005. There it would remain until April of 2015, when it went back to 1, and then to a full 3 by July of the same year. Its April unbanning arrived on the heels of the previous month's new set, Premium Gold Return of the Bling. This was also the printing that introduced Sinister Serpent's major erratas, the Graveyard Banish and once per turn limitation. Still, in GOAT format, you can get a lot of mileage from Sinister Serpent. It's a great tool to pay for the discard cost for the powerful removal effects of Abyss Soldier and Tribe Infecting Virus, and is also great for stall. In its simplified game state, Sinister Serpent's ability to recycle itself for you to set every turn can let you start building card advantage over your opponent. Sinister Serpent is also level 1, which is a great thing to be in GOAT specifically, where any level 1 is 1 Metamorphosis away from becoming Thousand Eyes Restrict. And then you even get your Sinister Serpent back during your next standby phase. Sinister Serpent also sees play in GOAT Gravekeeper strategies. This is because Sinister Serpent actually manages to dodge around Necro Valley's graveyard lock on account of it pulling itself from grave, and therefore sidestepping Necro Valley's field exclusive effects per GOAT rulings. This is just another way that the ancient Sinister Serpent outclasses its modern ancestors. And speaking of ancient things in Sinister Serpent, let's talk about the time Yugi's grandpa used the card as part of his ancient city strategy. While masquerading as the mysterious Amp Narg Otom, which is Grandpa Moto spelled backwards, Grandpa used Sinister Serpent to always have a card to reveal for Ordeal of a Traveler, and as discard fodder for Ancient Tome. Sinister Serpent's iconic status has led to features in the artwork of a number of other cards. This list includes Snake Whistle, Goblin Circus, Waking the Dragon, 1x1, and also the original OCG artwork for the spell Exchange. Interestingly, the TCG adaptation of the same card would replace Sinister Serpent with Mirror Force. Sinister Serpent has a lot of firsts. It was the first reptile effect monster, and also the first reptile to be put on the Forbidden list. With this video, I give it another first as Yu-Gi-Oh's #1 snake of all time. Alright, and that's the list. But there are more snakes out there. So if I missed your favorite, or if you have more ideas for future videos just like this one, I'd love to hear about them down in the comments.